My name is Hector Camajo. I'm the IT Administrator and Service Desk Administrator for Australian Community Media. Australian Community Media is one of the largest regional companies in Australia. We have about 1,800 staff with 140 mastheads, in both digital and print. Our offices are scattered throughout Australia, like I said. They range from Sydney to Perth, Launceston to the Northern Territory. So we have several IT teams, one core IT, which is level 1 IT, and there's about 18 of us in that role. We also have level 2 support teams for network and security, and sales platform support teams. We also have website development teams, and they basically, the roles are from developing websites to level 1 support of, password resets and things like that. Well, day-to-day challenges, remote support is a challenge. Level of user knowledge, IT knowledge. We have security concerns about users having access to areas they shouldn't, so the things that we take very seriously. So we also have communicating new methods of work, procedures, SOPs and things like that. So it's never the same day, but it's always a challenge. Main product we started off with was Service Desk Plus Cloud version, and we introduced Endpoint Central. At the time, it was called Desktop Central, I believe. Okay, so Endpoint Central was basically COVID pushed a lot of our devices out from the office. We were office bound mostly. If the devices weren't office bound, they would be coming back into the office regularly. So with COVID, devices weren't coming back into the office, and devices that sat in the office were pushed out. So we needed something to do to manage our endpoints more precisely and give us a good view of what's happening with them. Patch management was very important to us. We were in the process of doing a system that was looking after patch management, but because we were pushed out remote, it wasn't capable. So we had to replace it with Endpoint Central, and we're glad we did. It's a fantastic product. We're quite happy with it. Well, we have 3,500 licenses for the assets. We are pushing for more. So 3,500 are already in the system, and we're in the middle of a refresh at the moment for all our desktops and older laptops. So we actually will be upgrading our system to further more than 3,500. So Endpoint Central, it's a little bit different. I think it's more set in its way. We came from an on-prem solution prior, and so we had to change our methodology, the way we worked with the tool. So we felt that Endpoint Central was a new way that we had to adjust for, instead of with SDP, because it's so flexible. And Manage Engine came back with a lot of good support. What Endpoint does is exactly what we need anyway. So it's our learning that had to change. We had to catch up with Endpoint. So Manage Engine brings a whole lot of value from my perspective, because there's a resource there that I can send a request through, a request to have something work a certain way, and all I have to do is explain what I'm trying to achieve. And usually within 24 hours to 48 hours, I get back a response to say, well, this is how you do that. And usually it's a yes. Very rarely have I ever gotten a no, or maybe try a different way or a different thing would be the answer. But so the Manage Engine, I think, has the right attitude. And what Endpoint Central has a great range of access to the asset. We've included the MDM module in our endpoint. So we have been able to manage our phones or mobile devices a lot better than what we were able to before. We didn't have an MDM module before. So that's been a big plus for us. And the fact that we can see the endpoints and what state they're in, where they are, patch levels, We can deploy software directly from Endpoint Central. And it gives us more control of what's actually on the machine. One feature I forgot about our Endpoint Central is the remote access. That's great. It's one of the things that we weren't really happy with the side of Service Desk Plus. It's remote, although it's there and it's usable. Yeah, we needed something a little bit stronger, and Endpoint Central gave us that. So the remote feature in Endpoint Central is fantastic. Endpoint Central helps us maintaining patch management, which again, security-wise is fantastic, and an outcome could be really bad for us if we weren't on top of our patch management. So we're able to see also the age of machines. So from a business point of view, refresh now becomes a lot easier. Instead of saying, I think we've got 25% of our fleet needs refreshing, now we can say definitely. That's what we can do, and we can budget for that sort of thing ahead of time. I definitely would recommend Manage Engine. It's a great product. Support's fantastic. You won't be in a situation where Manage Engine will come along and give you the product and walk away. They're there with you on the journey with you, and they have your best interest in mind. The products themselves, they do the job. With our experience with moving from very little use of remote to being mainly office bound to go into a hybrid work model, we found that it was really important to take your people along with you. You had to be prepared to work through the training of your people who normally would not work remotely. Also, security is very important. You have to be able to identify who is actually trying to get into your network and making sure those devices are secure. The IT team also has to change their attitude towards how they do their job. They no longer can just walk up to a device, for example, if they're in the office. They now have to deal with a user who mainly they would probably just say, just move aside, I'll do it for you, to talking them through the process because they're there and getting more involved. So the pushing of the technology knowledge from the tech team to the staff in general was something that we found was something we had to work on, and I think that would help with the success.